Thinking about moving to Jacksonville, Florida? Before you start touring homes, there are a few things families almost always wish they knew first. And honestly, this is where a lot of people get it wrong. Jacksonville is huge geographically, and the neighborhoods can feel completely different from one to another, and your daily life can vary a lot depending on where you choose to live. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through 6 things families should understand before moving to Jacksonville, so you can choose the right area the very first time. Hi, I am Carrie Ann Kilpatrick with Florida Homes Realty, and I help families make thoughtful moves here in Northeast Florida. If you are relocating to Jacksonville, moving within Northeast Florida, or trying to figure out what daily life is really like here, this is a great place to start before you even begin your home search. And if you are researching Jacksonville neighborhoods right now, make sure to subscribe. I post new videos every week about living in Northeast Florida and what it's really like. So let's get into it. Number 1, Jacksonville is much bigger than people expect. One of the first things people notice about Jacksonville is just how big it is. Jacksonville is actually the largest city by land area in the continental United States, covering more than 840 square miles. And because of that, what looks close on a map can easily turn into a 30 to 40 minute drive, depending on where you're going. For families, this becomes important very quickly because daily life revolves around routines like school drop-offs, commuting to work, kids' activities, grocery runs, and of course, weekend fun outings. 2 neighborhoods may technically both be in Jacksonville, but the lifestyle and commute experience can feel completely different. So when families move here, one of the biggest adjustments is learning to think about Jacksonville in terms of areas and lifestyle zones, not just the city as one place. So number 2, neighborhoods in Jacksonville feel very, very different. Another thing that surprises people moving here is how different the neighborhoods actually feel. Some areas are more suburban with planned communities and newer homes, of course, and other areas are more established neighborhoods with mature trees and unique homes. Then you also have areas that feel more coastal and beach-oriented, and then still others that are quieter and more residential. This is why I always encourage families to think about how they want to live day to day, not just the house itself. For example, some families prioritize things like larger yards, newer construction, proximity to parks, which is fun, being close to the beach, of course, or shorter commute times from home to work. The right neighborhood usually depends more on lifestyle than the home itself. So number 3, commute times matter more than buyers expect. One of the most common things families tell me after they move here is that commute time ended up being or mattering more than they really expected. Jacksonville is so spread out. And we also have the St. Johns River running through the city, which means bridges and traffic patterns play a big role in your day-to-day life. For example, if you live near the beaches like Jacksonville Beach or Atlantic Beach, you're usually looking at about 30 to 40 minute drive to downtown Jacksonville. And that's where several of our major hospitals and medical centers are located. Also, if you work in, let's say, banking or financial services, many of those offices are concentrated in the South Side area, especially around places like St. John's Town Center and Gate Parkway. So depending on where you live, your commute could easily range from 20 minutes to over 45 minutes during peak traffic. And that's assuming traffic behaves that day. So during home shopping, it's easy to focus on things like square footage or a beautiful kitchen, but the day-to-day reality of commuting and school schedules often ends up being just as important. So let's get to number 4. School zones can influence neighborhood choice. If you have kids, or even if you're planning to, this is something to think about early on in the process. Jacksonville and the surrounding Northeast Florida area have a wide variety of school options, including public, charter, and of course, private schools. What many families don't realize at first is that school zones can vary significantly between neighborhoods that are relatively close together. And typically, areas with higher rated schools also come with higher home prices. So it becomes a balance between budget and your priorities. That's why when families are relocating here, we usually start by looking at the areas that align best with their priorities and then narrow down neighborhoods from there. This helps avoid falling in love with the house and then finding out later that the location may not be the best fit for their family's long-term plans. Number 5. Why families often regret choosing the house first. One of the most common mistakes buyers make, not just in Jacksonville, but everywhere across the United States, is choosing the house first and thinking about the neighborhood second. It's easy to fall in love with a beautiful open floor plan or that super functional kitchen or even a brand new construction home. But over time, families often realize that the neighborhood and daily lifestyle matter just as much as the home itself. You can update a kitchen, you can change the finishes in a house, but you cannot change the location once you move in. And that's why I always encourage families to look at both the home and the neighborhood together when making a decision. Number 6, how families usually narrow down the right area. The families who feel the most confident about their move usually start by narrowing down 2 or 3 areas first that fit their lifestyle. They consider things like the commute patterns that we talked about, proximity to parks or activities, the overall neighborhood atmosphere, and long-term resale value. Once those areas are identified, it becomes much easier to focus on finding the right home within that neighborhood. This approach usually leads to a much better long-term experience after the move. If you're thinking about moving to Jacksonville or somewhere in Northeast Florida, understanding the differences between neighborhoods is one of the most helpful steps you can take before you start your home search. On my channel, I also have neighborhood tours and guides that can help you get a good feel for different parts of the area before you even start. And if you're trying to compare homes and communities more confidently, I also have a home tour checklist for growing families that can help you evaluate homes before even making a decision. If you're comparing neighborhoods in Jacksonville, you may also want to watch this video that's upcoming. I'm Carrie Ann, helping you make sweet moves here in Northeast Florida. Don't forget to subscribe. You deserve a home that fits your life.